I'm your host, Sterling Mack. Excited to be here. Excited to get back in the swing of things at some point. Taylor, it's not a Levitard Stuttgart situation. For anybody wondering where Taylor's been the last month or so, they are snowed in right now. He's got the baby, wife. They're just they're kind of chilling. So he's not joining today, but he is around. He is still doing some of the producing. He should be back live on the pod soon. I promise. Like I said, not a Levitard Stu God situation with Taylor and I, but yeah, a lot of things going on in the sports world. Obviously, sports technology as well, which is kind of our main focal point. I'll start with sports, and then we'll jump to a few interesting sports tech stories. We'll weave those into some of the things that we're doing in Sports Tech Atlanta, and then we'll round this out. I'm going to start with Luka because it feels like the right thing to do. Like, the Lakers are interesting. I'm in LA right now. I was going to go to the game yesterday, the Lakers Celtics game. Decided not to. I'm glad I did not. Felt like a bad game to watch, unless you're a Peyton Pritchard or Jaylen Brown stan. I just have to beg the question, as you saw it on the ticker. Let's bring it back up. Will Luka ever play defense or move when he doesn't have the ball? I say that I am a huge Luka Doncic fan. I wanted the Hawks to draft him. 6-7 years ago now. It's crazy to say that. They didn't. Obviously, we do the draft day swap between he and Trae Young. They both are now no longer with their original teams, as Trae has been moved to Washington. If you watch, the tough thing is, I think Luka is, arguably second or third best offensive player in basketball when he is going and when he's right. Famously, right, Russillo said, as the trade happened a year ago, like, he could be chain smoking, eating hamburgers at half court, and he would still take him over, 90% of the league. And that's true. I think that's still true. The issue, and maybe it's crazy to watch, right? Because what Dallas had built was the perfect team for Luka to, he has flaws as he is offensively. Even on the offensive side, there's still flaws. And then obviously defensively, he doesn't really do a lot. And so they built the perfect team around him, right? With a ton of guys that are okay not having the ball, who can shoot, who will crash the boards offensively and defensively, but then play really, really good defense. And then a guy that enjoys the one-on-one aspect. And so you don't need, of course, Kyrie can come off of a down screen or a pin down or any of those type of things, but he doesn't really need it. He just needs the ball. And so it was a perfect fit. Plus you had two very, very good big men that were just rollers, right? Guys that wanted to be around the basket, guys that were going to rebound and again defend, right? And that's something that I think Aiton's actually given okay energy. I think this is the tough thing about the fit and why I'm kind of framing this around Luka is like, he had a bad game yesterday, but then when you're watching the game, you're like, man, I just want you to do more. And I know that's tough when I was actually at a bar, but when you're sitting watching him, and again, I'm doing this from, like, my vantage point, but you feel like the offense moves better if he does other things. And with this Lakers team, unless he has the ball and he's manipulating everything, and he's so good at that, I get that. But it also just doesn't get guys involved. And so then you're standing around, you're watching him, and he can go in these stretches where he just, like, can go score. But then I've always said this about Trae or James Harden. When a guy dribbles the ball or dribbles the air out for 17 seconds, you're frustrated, and you can see it with Ayton. Like, he's moving, and Ayton, honestly, from like 15, 16 feet is really, really good. Now, maybe they just don't want him to take those shots, but there's times where, like, he'll kind of cut through the lane and he'll be open, like, towards the block, or he could catch it there and, like, make one move, make a dribble and shoot it. But but he doesn't really get those opportunities. And then, I felt like Reeves was he was ice cold because he was iced out. I mean, he only had like 7 shots, I think, through the first 3 quarters. Then he kind of got going a little bit in the fourth there. And the same with LeBron. It just feels like there's no rhythm to it. And a lot of it, to me, is when your best player has the ball all the time and he's manipulating it, it's really difficult, right? And then when he gets off of it, he either stands at half court or he goes and stands in the corner. Like there's nothing else he does. He's not setting picks for people. He's not cutting through the lane. That's all. He truly just stands around. And so, you get it when Messi does it on offense because it's like he's trying to use his gravity and things like that. But there feels like you just want more from Luka because he's so talented offensively. And obviously, like, I think even as good as he is, you just don't feel good about what the Lakers can try to do here. The next 6 or so weeks of the regular season and into the playoffs. And just the team is again the Mavericks had built, which is crazy again. The Mavericks had built the perfect team for him, and right now this team is so flawed for what he does great. And unless he wants to give you extra effort or do extra things, you're kind of stuck with just watching him, be at times very, very brilliant on the offensive side, but that's all you're really going to get. Cat, ooh. I feel bad for Cat because he's so talented, but he does do dumb shit on the basketball court. There's just no way around that. Like, Karl Anthony Towns is so good, and it's different than like the Luka, because like, whoa, that's on pause. But you know what I mean? Like, what Cat does so well is the ability to shoot the basketball or really just be very good offensively. The Knicks at times don't really need him to always be that. Now, as a pick and pop player with Brunson, of course, amazing. But OG, Bridges, at times Josh Hart, he's actually shot it better this year from 3. I still would leave him open in the playoffs, but that's just a me thing. I mean, you feel like for the Knicks team to take that next step, and obviously crazy comeback against the Rockets, but for them to take that next step, one, he's got to figure out a way to be on the floor and be impactful defensively. At least he gives effort, unlike Luka. But there's so many times at the rim where there's just no resistance. And then offensively, it just feels like he just, and I get it, he's trying to find where can he be impactful. But even when he catches the ball, like for me, like there's so many times that they'll just put a smaller guy or they switch, right? Just walk him down. And then it's almost uncomfortable for him to catch the ball sometimes on the block and be 7 feet tall. I honestly, the guy that I would say he should watch, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but is Porzingis. Because Porzingis is not a post player per se, but you're very comfortable giving Porzingis the ball at 10 feet or 12 feet or even at the free throw line and just putting out and letting him post. You don't feel comfortable with Cat doing that because, one, you think he's going to get an offensive foul, or that he is a very, very good passer, but it just the offense doesn't feel as smooth when he's there, and it should be if you're that talented, especially that talented of a shooter. I mean, he should at 7 feet tall own that like free throw extended kind of area. And I thought that with Brown coming in from a coaching perspective, he's changed their offense a little bit. They are definitely better offensively, but there's still some ways to go. And part of it is just like Cat does Cat things, right? He'll get an offensive foul. He'll get a dumb, foul going after a loose ball. And then he wants to he's great. It's crazy. He can get you off the dribble, but it's like, you don't really need to do that. And that's where a lot of his fouls come from, or he'll go and like smoke a layup. And it's just like, man, they got a small guy on you. Just get to an area where you feel comfortable and raise up and shoot the ball. And that's why I say Porzingis, because I think Porzingis is one of those guys that does it really well. Obviously Wemby too, but Jokic is different because he gets you to his spots and then has that little push shot, or he'll kind of fade away. But with Cat, like, he doesn't even have to dribble. Like, you can just use your size, use your shoulders, and then just raise up over guys. And he just doesn't do that well. And again, the defensive side is tough right now. And I don't know. We'll see. It feels like the Knicks are in this weird spot where if they don't win, it's a weird offseason. And I didn't think I would say that going into the season, but we'll see what. Quickly, I am I know Zach Lowe said this on his show, so want to give him the source there. It had already been bubbling, right, in Atlanta, it feels like, but Kuminga having this knee injury, I know he's had some things as he was going through the end of his Warriors tenure. It felt like some of that though was just to kind of spurn Steve Kerr and to like feel like, hey, I'm not going to play here when you guys clearly want to get rid of me. Strange. I think if I were him to now, if you're hurt, I get it. You don't want to risk further injury, or you don't want to, do something that's going to be catastrophic to you down the line. But the Hawks clearly do not know what to do with Zachary Risache. They are clearly looking for someone at that other wing position that could give them what they feel like is a real offensive and defensive, wing, not just a 3-and-D guy. I think a guy that can complement what Jalen Johnson does moving forward. I am confused why, if I were Kuminga and his people, again, if you're injured to the point where it like is detrimental to play, I totally get that. But it would seem like it would behoove you to be on the floor if I were him. I'm not saying that as a Hawks fan. The Hawks season is whatever. If they're in the play-in, amazing. That is what it is. But again, I just, you're thinking about where people view you around the league, what you think you want to go be. What better time to go show people for 6 weeks that maybe the Warriors gave up on me too early, or maybe Steve Kerr didn't see what I could be. Oh, and by the way, look at what I can do or be here, maybe in Atlanta, or maybe, if you guys are packaging me and then maybe it's that, right? Maybe they've quietly said, hey, we're going to try to package you for Giannis or Anthony Edwards or whoever in the summer. Totally, that's unfortunate. I still think you want to be on the floor. I still think you want to go play and show everybody that, what you can kind of go do. Maybe not. Maybe that's just me. So, that will round. Actually, let me do one more sports thing. This is from, so Bomani Jones had this, and on his podcast on Monday the 23rd. I'm recording this after I listened to that, so I want to make sure I'm giving the right credence there, right credit. And Bomani theorized that we do not care about the regular season anymore. Will we ever care? And really, he went back to, I thought it was really good. He went back to, we cared about the Heat, we cared about LeBron. That was a moment. That was a moment in time. Didn't matter if you love basketball, didn't like basketball. You were tuning in to the Heat. Because I think a lot of people at that time had this disdain for LeBron, and so they wanted to see him lose, and they wanted to see what the Heat were, and that was a storyline every day, right? They led every show at every time. I thought about this because Stephen A. Smith did that weird thing about LeBron, like LeBron should dress better going into the stadium, which is crazy because Pat Riley's comments were about coaches, and then somehow that became about LeBron James. I would love to have somebody somehow over the last, 18 years or something, maybe since 2008, 2009. I would love to see how many times a show has talked about LeBron in a non-sports, like nothing that happened on the court. Let's put some sort of formula to it, and that he should then be paid for all the times people have made up some dumbass comment or some dumbass thing that now lives on the internet for a day around LeBron. I think that should happen. right? Actually, this is what we should do. Let's challenge Stephen A. Smith to talk about basketball for 10 straight minutes of what is going on in 2026. Let's do that. We should have that happen. Okay, I digress there. Um but yeah, like the regular season doesn't matter. And I thought Bomani, like I said, did a great job. The Heat mattered. All of a sudden, LeBron goes back to Cleveland. That did matter, but yes, the Warriors superseded that because they win 67 games in the championship in 15. They come back the next year, win 73. We all know what happens. Like if Draymond does not get suspended, they win again. They don't win. Kevin Durant joins. That changes the regular season forever. There's no other way to say that. That's not KD's fault. It's not the Warriors' fault. That is just what it is. So now, and Bomani, I thought, said that really well and kind of weave baseball in. All of these sports are in a weird place where outside of football, because of the inventory piece, you're just like hockey, basketball, baseball, soccer. I mean, all of them. How do you get people to the regular season? And I don't know. I thought about this. I was like, there are not these, marketing and sales, right? You call these like tent pole events. Like we don't have these in the regular season anymore. You used to have like Christmas Day games on the NBA. Used to feel like the calendar when it kind of flipped or right after the All-Star break, they would do all these things. They had kind of quote unquote rivalry weeks, like these type of things, especially in baseball. Baseball did interleague play for a little bit. That kind of helped. But then you just tried to like match up stars, but then that started to kind of fade because we don't really have as many stars anymore, or really national stars, right? Baseball is such a regional sport. And I don't know. I don't know what you could do outside of maybe, like I said, the TV networks actually talking about the game. I don't know. Even if that happened, I don't know what changes around the regular season. I just think 82 games is so long. We have so many other things that we care about, I think, now as a society. Streaming also is like a part of that. Like there's so many options for you to watch every night. I just, unless a team, maybe if a team went for 73, that would be interesting. But I still think like if the Thunder this year, like I'm not a Thunder. I don't enjoy watching the Thunder by basketball. So like if the Thunder went for 73, I think I would watch some games, and I've already watched them some. But it wouldn't be this thing that would make me gravitate towards it. That is a B thing. I choose baseball, for example. Bomani talked about on the pod. If someone was like hitting 390 in August, September, would we tune in, right? Maybe, right? I mean, Judge was going for Roger Maris's 61, and I felt like that barely attracted people, right? Acuna went 50-50 the other year. Still not talked about enough. I feel like that didn't turn the needle. It just didn't. I don't know. I don't know what it could do in baseball. I mean, the last I had really to think about it. I think Jimmy Rollins has the longest hit streak, and that was like 20 years ago. I want to say like Juan Pierre had one too that was like okay. There was another like kind of slap hitter that had like maybe a 20-30 game streak. But yeah, I mean, even if you did that, unless you got to 45-50 and really challenged Joe's 56, I don't know. I don't know what would really change our minds around these outside the regular seasons that are not football. And I think it's a thing I think that the league has to try to figure out of how to impact fans in a way that makes them want to come watch your sport and watch it on TV on a nightly basis. You should see, try to post more things around. We are Fanatics affiliate creator, so you'll see us. I posted like me in the USA hockey jersey the other day. We've got different curations. So you'll see those links. We'll post that on the Sea Talk podcast, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those things. So definitely check that out. Fanatics gives it's honestly really cool as a creator to be able to have this access to products and to be able to kind of post links for people to get discounts, things like that. So again, check that out for us, the Sea Talk podcast as a Fanatics creator. All right, let's jump into a little sports technology here. Paris Saint Germain is launching a global running program to bring its community together. It's pretty cool. I find these type of partnerships really interesting, just from a perspective that we do partnerships at Sports Tech Atlanta, but also just like what's kind of driving integration and partnership. Especially I feel Europe has been doing sports technology for a while, and it's really cool to see what they're doing sometimes. But so Rerun Paris, the club's flagship running event. It's going to roll out an international run club starting, I believe, this weekend in London, with the launch of the digital PSG Run Club on Strava. So pretty cool here. So they'll be offering educational and inspiring content, support its community, and pushing their limits and enjoying running. Fun training sessions, nutrition advice, and training methods designed for all profiles. I'm not a big run guy. I mean, I hit the gym, but I don't really be doing those run clubs like that. But yeah, it's this is cool though. Cool by PSG. Again, launching a global running program to bring its community together. Next one, Apple TV is partnering with Everpass Media, bringing sports content to restaurants and bars. I feel like you knew something like this was going to come down the pipeline when they opened up MLS Plus, or kind of they rolled MLS back into like normal Apple TV, so you don't have to have a separate or additional subscription for MLS. And obviously with F1 coming, I think Apple is trying to find a way, or making sure that there's a way for people to get into their sports. They still have Friday Night Baseball. Hit your boy if you guys need anything. And yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those where Apple is continuing to figure out how to, they don't market a ton, right? They're all about, people knowing where they are. And so I think this will be interesting to see as Everpass gets this opportunity. They already have a ton of other live sports in their library, like UEFA Champions League, the NBA, women's NBA content. So this will be a kind of another one here for them to expand on that and obviously work through their directory of partnerships. So excited to kind of see this, and hopefully at a bar that you frequent, you'll have Apple TV and a little MLS, Major League Baseball on Fridays, and F1. I found this one interesting because of our relationship and our partnership with Team Sports. I hit that. But this is Shoot 360, which is partnered with LA Fitness, piloting a program to transform basketball gyms into gamified, data-driven training and competition experiences. Yeah, it's interesting. I think just because of like where, again, like we're working with Team Sports, I feel like this is a perfect thing that you're not perfect thing. You're gonna see this more in terms of the gamification aspect, and like, we've highlighted different VR training modules as well that are kind of getting into this from a VR like basketball perspective. But I think a lot of us that do go to the gym or in this place where I'm speaking from personal experience. I go to Equinox and I hate going in there sometimes and playing. It's awful. If you want to blame Steph or whoever, like I wouldn't blame Steph, but whoever you want to blame, you can blame. But trying to play basketball now is really tough. And as you get older, a lot of times you just want to go in and like, let me just get some shots up. Let me just hang out. Like you just kind of want to be in there. The tough thing, unless you're kind of a crazy person like me, there's no way for you to have fun with that if you're just kind of shooting. You're just in the gym, not to play 5-on-5 or whatever and get up and down. And I think people still want those experiences because you want to be. There's something different, I think, about getting some cardio or getting your heart rate up from like a sport perspective, but not feeling like you might get injured because these 18-year-old kids don't know how to play basketball, right? And I think it's really cool to see technology be able to give you that in terms of like the gamification of it, or real-time analytics, or like machine learning, machine vision, like all of these things that you can impact into, especially from into a gym environment. I think is really, really cool. And so excited to see what Shoot 360 is doing. Like I said, we work with Team Sports. I think they are starting to try to roll out something very similar to some fitness organizations over in London where they are, and obviously we're partnering to kind of help them get into some programs here in the United States. So excited to see this. Excited to see this rolled out by Shoot 360. Couple more here. I'm gonna hit Novig because I think peer-to-peer exchanges are definitely really interesting, right? But they operate a commission-free peer-to-peer exchange designed for sports traders, utilizing an order book model to provide market-driven odds. They 10x their growth and trading volume in 2025. And new funding accelerates product development, more markets, deeper liquidity, and advanced trading tools purpose built for sports traders. The round was led by Pantera Capital with participation from Multicoin Capital, Forerunner, and Perceptive Ventures as well. This brings their total capital raised to 105 million. Shout out. But yeah, check them out. I actually did. I think they're great. Used them a few times. I think they're awesome. Would love to, we've been trying to do some things behind the scenes as well. But I think, this is one of those. I think more people are getting into the prediction, obviously, like prediction markets, things like that. But this is a great, I think, it's just true sports trading platform. And again, it's peer-to-peer. So if you're in California or something like that, where I am right now, you're able to participate in this, being able, to bet legally and doing it with, I think, some really cool things around the way that they have it designed for sports and sports trading. So definitely, like I said, check them out. Novig, Novig. Download their app and check them out. Rounded out here on this one, Citizens Private Bank is now allowing wealthy clients to invest in sports through Harbinger Sports Partners, which is the PE firm by billionaire Mark Cuban and venture investor Rashawn Williams, who's out of Atlanta. This is becoming more and more of a thing here, right? Where you're setting up an entity and a vehicle for wealthy people to get into sports. A lot of people want to be in sports, maybe don't have the liquidity to do it or the group to do it. And now what Harbinger and with this kind of partnership with Citizens Private Bank, allowing, like I said, that vehicle now for those that have the money. I say at the low end, right? It's crazy to say at the low end, but at the low end, to then be able to get a piece or a share of what these guys, and obviously big time track records from Mark Cuban and Rashawn Williams and what they're doing from a sports asset perspective. So shout out to them. Love this. Love what they're doing here. I think it's I don't say a new wave. I think we saw a lot of like SPACs and stuff like that, like 2020, 2021 that were popping up. And I think this is a new kind of way, I think, where people are aligning themselves as the asset of sport becomes bigger and bigger from a PE perspective. All right, as always, you can find me at SteamAc. You can find us at the Seed Talk Podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, we're also on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, all the things. We have a Substack. So as I like to say, we are where you are. We be where you be. But continue to rate, subscribe, check us out. And we will see you on the next edition of the Seed Talk Podcast.